Hello, hello, everyone, and happy sunny Wednesday? I was gonna say Wednesday, but I was like, let's throw a little sunny in there because it is a glorious day. We are just gonna give it a couple of seconds so folks can log in. If this is your first time with us, hello. Well, my name is Sadie Uribe, and I'm the media producer for the Los Angeles Regional SBDC. The SBDC is a national program with over 1,000 locations across the country, helping to stimulate economic growth through business advising and development. The LASBDC offers no-cost services through funding provided by the U.S. Small Business Administration, SBA, and from the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. It's your tax dollars at work. The Los Angeles Regional SBDC network operates 7 service locations throughout Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. Our services are also offered virtually. We are here to help. We empower small business owners by offering tailored solutions through personalized one-on-one business advising, cutting-edge workshops, and comprehensive programs, all provided at no cost. We are dedicated to supporting your entrepreneurial journey every step of the way. Did you feel the grit in that, Lori? I feel some energy today.
Oh, that's hilarious. You guys are going to understand where we're coming from that. That's the word for today. The word for today is grit. Welcome, welcome, and welcome to everybody who's hanging with us through the summer, and especially with the holidays and everything. I always expect the numbers to fall, and I appreciate everybody that's hanging with us during this time period. So, with no further ado, because we have a great show today, and I want every single minute possible to have conversations with our guests. So, let's get started here. I do have a little bit more of an announcement on my upcoming special webinar that I was speaking of. So let's get into that right away. So one of the things you're going to notice, I have these 2 webinars, the Learn CFO Skills Financial Modeling. They were the financial literacy series, which I'm actually getting more into the financial modeling and making that a 2-part series. So that is what that is about. And that will be on a monthly basis. That'll be repeated. And the Sole Prop LLC S Corp, which one and why. There is so much confusion out there where I have people setting up LLCs every single day, not understanding if they need to, why they shouldn't, why they should, all those things, or believing that there's some special tax advantage between a sole prop and an LLC, which is not correct. Now, in the middle, I left this one out. So this is a special webinar I'm having for the summer, may be repeated, may not, depending on how much the demand is. And I'll be announcing the other one probably next week. But this one is cash flow model instruction and template provided. Sadie's putting the link in. When you click on the link, you will get a full description. Now, in that, what I'm doing is I'm going over a template that I basically created as a CFO during interim. What I was doing was going into companies that were in financial trouble, i.e., no cash, and probably no chance of getting cash anytime soon. And these were 10 to 60 million-dollar company. So I had to, let's say, aggressively manage the cash flow. So over the years, I've created more of a simplified template and a teaching on how small companies can manage their cash flow. Now, what I'm talking about is specifically a process that looks at numbers, aligning what's your bank balance, what bills you got coming up, and then also what collections maybe you haven't gotten paid from customers, as well as what future billings, because this looks out for a distance, and you can then say, okay, I need to sell this much by this date to have this profit left over to pay the bills and have it collected. And so it really does do a future looking. So check out the information, and you do get both the instruction as well as the template if you attend the full webinar. I'm doing that to attend the full webinar so you know how to use it properly. Okay, so that's talking about the cash flow model. I will be talking about the company audit. That will be probably in August, and we'll know more about Ask an Expert series. I'll be talking about that when I have the details. So I've been promising some new stuff. It is finally coming. Next week, I'm going to have Samara on. I cannot have Samara on without talking about AB5, the independent contractor versus employee law. I'm seeing a few things go through the courts. Samara stays on this, so I want to see what the precedents are. Also, there's been a slew of brand new HR laws, as always. She's going to give us an update, helps people who have employees stay compliant, helps people who are deciding whether they want to hire that first employee, maybe reconsider. And then July 23rd, I'm real excited to have Diana come on. Diana is a career coach and speaker. What's interesting about her story is she had been in corporate America for like ever, okay? And not long ago, she ventured out on her own and she's doing quite well. So she's kind of fresh in that going from a corporate world to a full, entrepreneur lifestyle. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that as well as what she has done to launch her success so quickly. Then on the end of the month, Raymond is coming on, and his expertise is all about digital marketplace. He's another new guest to the show. I wanted to bring somebody on that would really look at using the whole digital marketplace. What's the good things to do, the bad things to do, how do you customize a plan to you, etc. So that will be another fascinating discussion. And situations like Ramin and Samara will eventually probably be on the Ask an Expert series where we can really delve into the details. Okay, Lori's Corner. Can't go without Lori's Corner. And it's always about things that strike me and, those things that are my soapbox. And where is Chris? It's not about the quart of milk today, but it kind of is, right? So here's my new saying, guys. To get big, first think small. Now, what am I talking about? And once again, all of these come from my experiences of talking to small companies because during the week, I basically am talking to sometimes, 15 small businesses a week, not to mention the webinars I do, right? But one-on-one discussions. And as I talk about how entrepreneurs today are being sold a bag of goods that they need to start an LLC immediately, they are also being told all these things about, well, okay, I need to have a CFO, I need to have all this, I need to have this set up, I need to maybe have a S corp so I can sell stock, I got to get venture capital. I mean, all this stuff, it's crazy talk because they haven't really got an idea yet. They maybe sold a product locally, maybe not even. And so they're all the way down the road worried, giving energy and sometimes money incorporating to these things that may never even happen if they don't get off the ground, right? So I talk about it, it's kind of like having a baby. That first year of development is so important. If you're focusing on whether that baby you just had is going to Harvard or not, you're not taking care of the baby and it may never even get to Harvard at that stage, right? So you really have to look at how do you first think small? How do you look at what do you need, comma, today? Not what are you going to need down the road? What did somebody tell you on YouTube? But what do you need today? Because what I'm seeing is where, Sam Walton and all those great people that started these big businesses so many years ago, they just thought about, well, how can I sell a few things at a corner store? And they grew accordingly. After, 30 some years as a business consultant, I've not seen any companies not go through a process of starting small, creating a widget, selling it locally, then growing and then growing. And when you start getting into this, I'm going to be big and all over, you're throwing marketing at everything, nothing sticking, etc. So I really want to emphasize the importance of, it's great to go down the road and make a plan, have a vision. I'm not saying don't do that, but then pull back and focus right in front of you, right in front of you. What do you need to do today? So that's my Lori's Corner speech for today. But I'm very excited to have Emma Green back on the show so many times, one of my favorite guests. Emma has extensive experience in starting, growing, and running businesses. She started Quads Physical Therapy in 2008 while still working at a job in the hospital. In October of 2019, Emma made the leap to 100% in her own business. Notice the dates. In January 22, response to COVID, she formed Emma Green Programs LLC to offer online courses, programs, and membership. Emma offers coaching. She's written books. She's going to tell you about all the things she's done. It is a remarkable story. Emma, I have been saying lately, I think intelligence is great. I love intelligence. I like schooling. I like education. I like that. But what I really, really have a respect for, and I think what we need more in this world is wisdom. Emma, you have wisdom.
Oh, thank you.
You have wisdom because you've been through grit. There, we got our word grit in. Emma and I were talking about grit. You've been through so much grit. I really, and you'll have to tell me if you believe this is true. I feel like you gained the most wisdom in like the last 4 years, like, by fire, if you will. So for those that have not met you, please just give us the rundown of what happened to you, because I think that is the great foundation for your story. And besides, I love this story. I can't hear it enough.
Oh, thanks, Laurie, and thanks for having me back. I was just looking back. I think we last spoke at the end of last year.
Yes. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, you're right. Even the last 6 months, I mean, have just been there's so much
You're
has
a mover and
happened.
a shaker, Emma. You really are. Literally. That's why I was like every 6 months, and Emma comes with a whole new bit of information. But yes, please continue.
Yeah, so I'm originally from the UK. I trained as a physiotherapist over there, which is a physical therapist. Worked over there for 10 years, National Health Service, and had my own clinics. Also traveled the world with sports teams, which was amazing. Have now been in California for 20 years, and I'm a physical therapist over here. Worked at a local hospital for 11 years, whilst sort of growing my side hustle. There were some patients who couldn't come and see me at the hospital for whatever reason, so grew my side hustle, and then got to the point where I knew something had to change. I love my profession, I love my career, I love my job, I love the people I work with, I love my patients, but I wasn't happy, and I didn't know why. But I knew something had to change. I was leaving the house every morning before my kids got up, and I would put the key in the door to lock the door, and I'd be like, I hate this. And I didn't hate my job, and I didn't hate what I did, but I hated having to
Yeah.
get up and go do. And I hated not having the freedom, which ultimately I had to figure that out. So I was going into work and just, more and more work, and I was almost in tears every day at work. And I was like, that's not me. I'm a Brit. We have a stiff upper lip, and we're not emotional, and all of this kind of thing. I was like, okay, something's not right. What's going on? And I knew something had to change. I either had to leave my job at the hospital, or I had to give my clinic up. But something had to change. I didn't realize at the time I was heading for burnout. So I made the decision to hand my notice in at the hospital. And within a week of leaving the hospital, burnout hit me, and I ended up in the hospital for 3 days, and kind of got through the other side of that, got out the other side, and I was in my clinic, and I sort of had built it up. I had a team, and I can remember walking into the clinic in January of 2020 and kind of going, oh, is this it? It doesn't feel, I'm not as happy as I thought I was going to be. Did I make the right choice? What's going on? And January 2020, we had our best month ever. And on the same day, my other therapist handed her notice in to me, and our landlady asked us to leave. Yeah. And
I remember that. You're like, called me up and go, we're getting kicked out of our lease. We got to move. And it was January of 2020. It's so interesting, Emma, because we go after what we believe makes logical sense. Okay, I like this. I like this. So this makes sense. So of course, then this makes sense to do. And it takes a lot of courage to have self-reflection where you look at yourself and say, but I'm not happy. What can I change? And I just want to stop and give a credit to you and speak that to the audience, because so many people just go, I'm not happy, put their head down, try to ignore it, maybe try to cover it up with other, vices, etc. But it just means that something in your life has to change. And it may, because I think about you now, you are just like over the top ecstatic since I've known you now. But I just think that needed a second to recognize your courage in asking the question, and to anyone out there who's feeling the same thing, to have the courage to ask it within themselves and to look outside what they believe may be the pathway they're supposed to follow.
Yeah, and thank you for pointing that out as well, Laurie. I feel like maybe I glossed over it. Leaving the hospital, leaving my hospital job, it's the hardest thing I've ever done, ever, ever. And that's in and I've moved from one side of the world to the other side of the world while I was 7 months pregnant. It's like, that was easy compared to leaving the hospital job. and leaving the
Security,
hospital.
right? Security. Was it
it
security?
it was what I knew. It was who I was. It was
Ah,
my identity.
I gotcha.
Yeah. And so I've been a hospital-based physical therapist for 25 years. It's
Yeah.
like I knew what I was doing. I could do it with my eyes closed. It was my comfort zone. It was my safe space. I used to go to work for a rest. It was way easier than being at home with two young boys. And I made the decision to leave that. And it was, again, looking back, I realized that was my identity.
Mhm.
And stepping away from that was that's what made it so hard, because I had to stop being that person in
Yeah.
order to become the person that I could become. I could fulfill my potential. And
Wow,
it was the
beautiful. And
hardest
you
thing.
know, it's so funny because a lot of times when we have that inner lack of happiness, like something just isn't right, even though it looks like a perfect soap opera world, it's usually our identity is attached too closely to something and it's got to be stripped away so we can see what we can really become. I mean, we could just be like a spiritual discussion here because that is the actual foundation that you hear about all the time. Beautifully said, Emma. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so, I was in this state of flux now in January 2020, and sort of I had options, and I guess I was in a really good place because I had options. We moved into the gym next door to where I was working, which was incredibly easy, obviously for patients. They were essentially coming to the same place. They took us in on a short-term basis. It worked out so well, they wanted us to stay. I had found an amazing space that I absolutely loved and spoke to Laurie about it. She told me I couldn't afford it. I was like, eh. So she saved me from signing that lease
Right
in
before COVID, yes, right
February of
before COVID.
2020.
I know, right before
Yeah,
COVID, I was like, "Emma, you can't afford this, don't sign the lease," and then COVID, I know.
thank you, Laurie. Yeah. And I'd found a new space. There was a new gym being built, and they were willing to give us a space in there. It was going to be amazing. And so I can remember talking to a business coach at the time. I said, after this entrepreneurial roller coaster, the highs are incredibly high and the lows are incredibly low. And
Yeah,
after coming down into this dip and all of this uncertainty, I was like, hey, this is going to be great. I'm going to have two locations, and this is going to be amazing. I think it's what I should do. And he sat back in his chair, crossed his arms, and he said, should you?
I know. Yeah, you know what I always say when I hear that, you should all over yourself.
Yes. And it
Yeah,
stopped me in my tracks
yeah,
because I was expecting him to mirror back to me,
right.
yeah, this is amazing, go for it, blah, blah, blah. And then he made me think, like, two sets of staff, two sets of financials, me whizzing around all over the place, even more than I had been previously. And
Yeah,
that's the bit I didn't enjoy. Like, what was I thinking? Because I thought I should. That was the
yeah.
next logical step. Go from one clinic to two, grow it. And I realized that no, actually that wouldn't make me happy. I didn't want to do that. And then obviously March of 2020, everything shut down, and and
Yeah.
and my hand was forced.
You know,
Um,
on that what you just said, it's always amazing to me, and we all do it, myself included, humans do this. We determine, okay, I don't want that. And then we manage to create the exact same thing that looks like it's different, but it's the same thing. And then we wonder why, you know what I mean? And it takes us a while to go, oh, okay, I just created it and it's just slightly different, but it's the same thing. I've done that in my life as well. But yeah, so what's really fascinating about this story that I love, this the whole story is, but I love this one is, so Emma is a hands-on therapist. You're not allowed to even be 6 feet, yet alone hands-on. You know, you couldn't be shut down more. Even restaurants could do takeout. You were like fish out of water. You could not do anything anymore. And this part, guys, you're gonna love because this is called, when the problem happens, you create a new solution. And I want to also premise this is before you say it, I really do think that it wasn't necessarily, and you'll know what I'm saying, even though it's great to say, well, I was so brilliant, I had insight. I think it was your love for your patients that created your direction. It was actually an act of love that gave you this whole new pathway. That's me as the outsider. You tell the story.
yeah, yeah. I think you're definitely right. I mean, I'm inherently a helper. So how can I help? And you're right, when we were shut down, everything was shut down, and all of a sudden I can't put my hands on people, and my income has stopped,
Yeah.
because that's how I make money. That's how I feed my children. And all of a sudden it's like that source of income has gone. So it made me realize, okay, we got to shift and pivot here. There are patients who rely on us, who now can't be seen, who are now isolating at home. Maybe they live alone, maybe they're older, maybe they were coming to our clinic for the social aspect of that, to see their friends and to work out with their friends, and all of a sudden they're by themselves at home. And so I thought, okay, well, we can shift online. I'd already been doing some telehealth. People who were too far away geographically to come and see me in the clinic, I was already starting to do some telehealth. So I was experimenting with it. So it was actually quite easy for us to make that shift to telehealth. We didn't ask patients if they wanted to. We just told them that's what we were going to do.
Yep.
And that, again, looking back, that was very different to a lot of clinics who were kind of saying, well, if you want to, because of course we thought this was going to be done in 2 or 3 weeks.
Right. Yep.
If you want to do some telehealth, then you can.
Yep.
Whereas we said to people, this is what we're doing. I'll see you on Tuesday at your normal time.
This is the way it is. Everybody get in the flow. This is where it's going. Yep.
Yeah. And I think, again, with sort of retrospect, that people were very grateful for that, because there was certainty there. It's like, oh, well, seeing Emma on Tuesday at my normal time. And
something's continuing. When everything got stopped, just to have something continue felt so good. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. So then I thought, okay, well, let's add in we were already doing Pilates classes. We shifted those online. Let's add in daily fitness classes, so that there is a point where people can jump in and they can check in with each other, and they don't feel isolated. They don't feel alone. We can get on Zoom together, and we can put some music on, and we can work out, and we can make the best of this situation. So that's what we did. We actually added in services.
Yeah. And then what I think is really interesting is people can say, okay, Pilates, I can see that going online, but there's no way a physical therapist is ever going to be able to go online. That's where it gets really interesting, Emma, because the first one you can see, but the second one would not have believed. And that is the one that has really taken you places.
Yeah. And again, I think it goes back to the fact, well, it certainly, I'm very specialized in what I do. I predominantly work with tennis elbow sufferers. So for that reason, I'm very lucky, because this is a very accessible area. Anybody can access their own elbow. It's not like it's between their shoulder blades or whatever. And I'd already started working with people online. So one of the very first people who reached out to me, and this is probably close to 10 years ago now, maybe not quite that long, but he was in France, and he reached out to me and he said, how can you help me? He said, I've had tennis elbow for 18 months. My MRI shows this. I've tried everything. Nothing is working. And he was depressed and demoralized and just very down about his whole situation, couldn't see a way out. So I thought, well, how can I help you? You're 5,000 miles away. So I thought, okay, let's meet on Zoom. I'll talk you through what I do with my patients in the clinic. And so we did that, and he came back the next week, and I could see the change in his eyes. He was like, I cannot believe this has worked, because nothing else has. And within a couple of months, he was back in the gym, weightlifting, doing everything he wanted to do. And that was my realization that, oh, I don't have to put my hands on people. I've created a process that if I can take somebody through the process, or now even people take themselves through that process, it works.
Yeah. And see, I think that's a beautiful key right there, Emma, because what you're doing is not only getting them healed, but giving them the power to feel that they created and participated in their own healing. And to me, that is a crucial element of healing and staying healed, is to believe that you have the ability within yourself to heal yourself. And that's what you did just by this chance of things happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I knew I could help people without touching them. It was just okay, a case of we shifted everybody. we did shift everybody online, right when lockdown happened. We didn't lose any patients, and we just kind of continued on. It worked great. And then so since then, it has really expanded because
It's
I
like shocking.
realized.
So here we go. Okay, guys, get ready for a roller coaster ride. So far, this is like, okay, she started seeing the, okay, now get ready for the roller coaster ride.
Yeah, because I realized that I was so dependent on that one stream of income, and
Yes.
I knew that I needed to create multiple streams of income now, so that if anything like this ever happened again, or if I couldn't work for whatever reason, I wasn't just solely relying on that one thing. I needed to have multiple streams. And so I was sort of looking at, well, how can I help more people? How can I get this information out into the world? And so instead of saying the words to a patient, which is what I'd done with the gentleman in France, I was like, I'm going to say this all into a camera. And so that's what I did. So pretty much every single element of how I help somebody from start to finish, I set into a camera, created these videos. I uploaded, I mean, they're on YouTube unlisted, and then I would email them out to people and have people sign up for this course that they could take themselves through.
And this is a perfect example of what I said during my Lori's Corner about think small to get big, because as we continue with the story, Emma has gotten big, but her first rendition was literally a notebook, right? Holding
Mhm.
up an iPhone and then doing it through the YouTube and then setting up email. There was no, let me see, because I mean, everybody, and Emma is like, I want to do this. What's the latest technology? Okay, I got to learn this system. And then they stall. You were like, I got an iPhone. Here, this will hold the iPhone. Let me upload it here. And I'm in business this afternoon. And that is the lost traits that the entrepreneurs today are not having an advantage to, because they're being sold a bag of goods about having everything set up with the latest, greatest, and they don't get nowhere. And see, I believe that you have taken off so fast and so far because you literally go, what can I do today to start making this happen?
Yeah, thank you for recognizing that. Yeah, and I mean, again, it was just came back to people have this problem. How can I solve it?
Yes,
What's the
which is the way
easiest
it's
way?
supposed to be in the entrepreneur. What is the demand in the marketplace and how do you meet it? See, and
Yeah,
that's so important, Emma, because what I see is, there's a point to business planning. Absolutely. I mean, I'm a CFO strategist. I believe in that. But when people haven't really figured out what they're selling to who, and they're just sitting around doing business plans and planning when they really could be experimenting and trying something. And that's the delineation that I'm talking about, is literally going, what can I do today to get closer to a proven product and point? And that's what I love about everything that you did. You were literally just going, okay, this opportunity came to me. Let me deal with it. Oh, wow. Now look at what do I have in my hand? Oh, this came to me. What do I have in my hand I can use here? That's how I see it as an observer. And that's how I've seen my life too. What do I got in my hand now? What can I make this into?
yes, yeah, exactly. And and testing things as well.
Yeah.
I very much had to get over myself because I don't like failure. I kind of shy away from that. And I, that's one thing that I think as an entrepreneur we have to embrace, and we have to test these things. And it's
Yeah.
okay if it doesn't work out. It just means that that version of it isn't the right way to go. Test something else. Try
Yes.
something
Yeah,
different.
I have to be reminded that because I get too caught up in trying to think and plan and make sure everything's perfect. I'm like, well, if I figure out how not to do it, I'll be one step closer. I have to remind myself of that Thomas Edison thing and just keep going and not try to be so perfect in my creations.
Yeah,
You'll
yeah,
get there. You'll
that's
get there eventually. So then what becomes fascinating, and Em and I were talking before the show, is everything up to this point is really kind of a service. If you look at it, especially what you've been doing as a service, but then you actually became a product company as well, offering both a service and a product. I find those to be the best business models because you get the higher rate for the service, but you also have a product and they refer to each other and and that's what happened is these started actually referring each other and growing exponentially because both of them started taking off and complementing each other. I think that is a beautiful relationship when you're selling information and you turn it into a product and you're also still giving the service. That was my little introduction to it from a business perspective. Please tell the story.
Yeah. So I created the course, and then that is a digital product, you know, that is still out there. The videos that I created 5 years ago now, many of them are still out there. It has been updated and it's been added to. I went into it yesterday. There's like 72 videos now in that
Wow.
comprehensive course. Yeah. So it's grown and evolved over time. Um, and then I thought, well, I'm not taking the kids to school now. So I'm saving 2 hours a day from dropping off and picking up. What am I going to do with 10 hours a week? And so I thought, right, the book that I've been writing for the previous 5 years that has a little chapter here and a chapter there, I was like, okay, I'm going to write the book. So I did that. I knuckled down, used the time, and the book came out in 2021, in April of 2021. And you know, it was a very fun experience to do that. Something that, you know, I like I say, I'd kind of been planning it for a while, but just really it was never a priority. There was always other stuff going on. And then here I was given this gift of time to be able to then go, okay, that's what I'm going to do with the time. And
Now,
then
in
to
the
have the
book
product.
story, as well as what you end up doing legally with the legal structure, are another thing that I find really refreshing with you. You know when to just DIY, take the iPhone, put it up against a folder, and when to reach out for professionals. So you got help to have the book published and all the aspects of that. You then reached out beyond your. Do you have any idea how you know to like say, okay, this needs me to spend money with someone else, this I can DIY? Do you have any internal mechanism you use? Because you seem to be spot on your decision process on that.
So I knew with writing the book, and I knew I could write, you know, anybody can write.
Yeah.
You can just write in a document. So I knew I could do that. I knew nothing about editing. So I thought I needed an editor. And so I'm a member of the Female Entrepreneur Association, which is an online association, obviously for women entrepreneurs all over the world. So I went in there and I said, I need an editor. I'm writing a book. And so a couple of people reached out who were editors, and then the lady that I ultimately worked with reached out and said, I'm a book mentor. And I didn't know what that was. I was like, well, what's a book mentor? Well, I send your manuscript to the editor. I find the printers. I create your cover. I format everything for you. I help you upload it into Amazon. I hold your hand every step of the way. And I went, oh, that's what I need.
Yes, that's exactly it.
So we worked together on the first book. She helped me every single step of the way, even to the point where I wanted physical copies for a book club event, and she found me a local printer. So just to say, my book mentor is in New Zealand. I'm in Southern California. She found me a local printers here in LA that would be able to do that. She, you know, she dealt with every single aspect of it. I mean, it
Yeah,
was
I remember that.
phenomenal.
She did
Yeah.
phenomenal. And you didn't have to get all these quantities printed. You were able to do it very small numbers, etc. But you did go for a beautiful hardcover. Now, tell everybody the name of the book so they know the name of the book.
Yeah, so that original book was Tennis Elbow Relief. Tennis Elbow Relief 2.0 actually came out last year, April of last year. So the second edition is it's much more updated. It's got so much more stuff in it. And it was really interesting to write that second edition just 3 years after the first edition, because so much in the research had changed. And I love that side of things. I love going into the research. I love learning. So I love doing all of this. So to update the book was great. The first edition is in the World Tennis Library at Wimbledon.
I was going to say, so here's my think. If you want to get big, think small. So let's talk Wimbledon now. How in the
Yeah.
world did Wimbledon come into the picture?
That's it. So obviously it's Tennis Elbow Relief book, and I was going to meet some of the people who have taken my course, because I now have students in over 50 countries. And so I had people coming from Poland and Iceland. I was going to be in London. And I said, well, you know what? Let's meet in Wimbledon. And they loved that idea. And little did I know that there is the World Tennis Library is at Wimbledon. And so I was there with copies of my book, and of course they were there. We were on center court, copies of the book, and somebody came up and he said, I have somebody who needs to meet you. And I was like, well, what's going on? And he's like, oh, this is the librarian to the World Tennis Library that's right here, and they need your book. And I was like, oh, I mean, here, like,
Here too.
have the book. So yeah. So the first copy's in there. The second copy should be going in later this year. The second
I
edition.
always say this, when you finally get alignment with what your spirit wants you to do, whatever that is to anybody, that word, magic happens. I cannot explain that, but I've been on planet Earth well long enough. When I'm trying, I'm in a fear-based, I'm trying to force something, I'm not paying attention to my inner child, whatever you want to say, magic doesn't happen. You start getting in line and things just happen automatically. It is amazing, just amazing on that. So, any insights on, we were talking about before a show, be having a product versus having a service. And my statement was, they could learn from each other. People see it as unusual. Product companies realize they have to look at the profit margins. Service people don't realize they need to as well based on their time. Service people realize that they're selling something as a service. Product people don't realize really it's a service too, because people like to buy from people they feel will take care of them. What do you notice that you learned when you walked over to the product side that you helped understand service or vice versa or anything?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. If I think back to when I was just sort of running my clinic, and very much, I mean, word of mouth is the strongest thing, word of mouth, and having relationships with referrers. So, local doctors, and we would speak with them, and sort of very traditional ways of marketing. I mean, if I think back to when I had my clinics in the UK, we were in the yellow book. I mean,
Right,
if we go
right,
back
right. Oh,
that
yeah,
far,
yeah.
right? Yeah. And you would, print out flyers and posters
Yeah.
and put them up in, local
The good
places.
old
And
days. Yeah, the simple good old days.
right, that's it. And then when I look at things now, and just having this awareness of the online world, and obviously, things have certainly changed, but often when you're in the online space, you hear about funnels, and you hear about marketing funnels being
Yeah.
the thing to utilize to get leads and then to nurture those leads. And there's no difference whether you're a service-based business or whether you're a product-based business. The funnel is going to be the same. So it's how can you reach that many eyeballs, and what free stuff can you put out there? And often, we kind of think, well, oh, I'm selling this, so I'll promote that. But it's like, no, people just want to hear what you do. They
Yeah.
want to hear about you. They want to hear about your values. They want to hear what you believe. They want to hear, obviously, about your products and services, but they're just looking for information to start with.
Credibility too. I think that because online
Yeah.
we're so got, it's scary out there. Who are these people, right? And it's getting
Yeah.
more so and more so. They have to feel like they got to know you a little bit more before they're even comfortable buying a product. Because
Yeah.
outside of purchasing from Amazon, where you got Amazon to back you, it gets scary when you leave some of those
Yeah.
main sites. I'm just using Amazon as an example of a main site. And you start going down the road and you're like, who is this person? So I think building credibility of the person is even more so important when you're selling online than people realize it is.
Yeah, it's so true. And often when I do like a consultation call with somebody who may be considering buying my course or working with me, whatever that may be, the ones that come on and say, I've watched every video of yours, I've listened to every podcast, I've got your book, I've worked through it, and they're like, when can we start? I mean,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
it literally is that. And
Yeah.
and you're absolutely right, Laurie.
Yeah, that's an interesting part that you mentioned. I want to ask your opinion, experience on this, Emma. I get a lot of people who think that they're going to put an online course up there and then they're just not even going to have to do anything. In other words, no customer service. People are just going to go there and they're going to purchase, and all they need is marketing dollars. Although I do see that sometimes true, more often than not, especially if it's a course that involves a certain amount of time versus, just something with a couple minutes, and it involves a certain purchase price, they may still want to speak to you. They may still want follow up. So I think that people underestimate the time for customer service I'm just using it as a blanket term, that needs to be involved. Do you find that you can just sell everything with no connections and no communication, or it involves a certain amount, or some people it does and some people it doesn't? You kind of just mentioned that. Can you delve into that a little more? Because that, I think, is always a mystery.
Yeah, it definitely varies. I mean, I have people who I have never spoken to. They've bought my book, they've worked their way through it, and then there might be somebody maybe post something on Facebook and they put underneath, I worked through Emma's book, I'm fine now. Thanks, Emma, that's amazing. And I'm like, I don't know who that person is.
Yeah.
We've never had any other interactions. And um but I think, depending on the person, often they do want to speak to you. They want to see that you're a real person.
I
And
think
the
that's true too. And I have someone else that sells certain things online, and he said the same thing. He goes, sometimes people, they go, I looked at this, I looked at this, I reviewed this, I reviewed this. I get the comfort because of the amount of materials out there, and I can purchase. That's why I think the more supporting exposure and presence you have, and the clear message in all those, because some people just have a bunch of stuff up there with no clear message. You have to have a consistency. That's where you've got the benefit that you're very niche oriented. So you're like,
Mm,
I'm the tennis elbow queen. That's what I do. That's what I'm about. That's me. And that gives a clear message as well.
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's quite then comforting for people because they have a problem, they're looking for a solution. Maybe they've found somebody. I mean, what would we all do? We'd Google them, we'd check
Yep.
them out, we'd go and
Yep.
look at their socials, we'd go, because we
Yep.
want to see who they are and what they
Yep.
represent.
Yep. And we're really, we're kind of scared. We want to make sure it's a real person. It's not a bot. It's not something to be scared of.
Yeah.
That's so true on that. Absolutely. So, I have to make this summary before we jump to the next topic. What I find interesting, and this struck me as we're speaking, you first were searching for freedom, searching for excitement. You got exactly what you were looking for in experience, just nowhere near where you thought you needed to find it. Isn't it interesting? It came full circle.
Mm,
And you're the one
yeah.
of the most energized, excited, engaged. You're fully engaged in life. I always, the thing I always wish for myself is that I'm fully engaged. I don't care what I'm doing. I want to be engaged in life because that's when you're very alive. So speaking of that, I don't want to make sure I leave ample time because I wanted everybody to hear that story. It's fascinating. What have you been up to since then? Because I know you've got
Yes.
something about grant programs and all this information. I want to make sure we get into that as well.
Yeah, for sure. So the last 6 months has certainly been, again, it's been very much a roller coaster ride. Probably, was it 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks after we last spoke, we had the wildfires
Yep.
that affected our area,
Yep.
obviously very severely. Um, Thankfully, I am sitting in my house. Our house was okay. We were evacuated for a week. And
Yeah.
so we did have to leave our house. And obviously many friends and neighbors, have lost homes. And I mean, our area has been through so much, and we're starting that recovery process. But the fact that basically I can pick my laptop up and go wherever I need to be, and I can open my laptop and I can work with my clients and I can teach my classes. And so that's what I did for that week. I was able to continue on. And so I have a small mastermind group of other physical therapists who are starting their online businesses, and we were due to meet on that Friday, and they kind of said, look, are you sure? And I'm like, yes, I want to do something normal.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
sit in the business center at the hotel and talk
Yep.
to you guys about these things, because it's just good to be able to do something that is normal.
Yeah.
So that was just an unbelievable experience to go through. But again, made me realize, made me very thankful that I have set my lifestyle up in the way that I have set it up so that I can be on the road wherever I am, and still be able to access the things that I need to access. So on the back of that, then a couple of opportunities came up. One of them, I was asked through SBDC to speak with Kelly Loeffler, who is now the head of the SBA.
Yes, she was. Emma got to the top to give her input. Yes.
So that was, I mean, it was very exciting. There were just 4 of us in the room with her. Again, I was a little unique in that the others had lost their homes. You know, I had been displaced and obviously had my business affected in that way. She was very interested in how the SBA had helped, because I was able to secure an SBA loan through that. So that was incredibly helpful to be able to do that. It had helped going through the process through COVID. And obviously, Laurie, at that time, you were walking everybody through that process as well. So I'm very grateful that, you know, I had all of that knowledge from doing it back then that was really helpful for this time. And it was great to be able to talk to you just before I spoke with her as well, because I'm like,
I did, because I was like,
to say?
Emma, make sure you mention this and this and this and all this, because like I said, that was my daily experience for 4 months. So when Emma said, I'm in one of a meeting, I go, good, here, this is also going on. Please talk to her.
Yeah, so I mentioned all of those things, and she seemed, you know, she was very interested in what we had to say. She took lots of notes, and so I'm hoping changes have been made that have helped people.
You know,
through
just
that.
recently I have been noticing it, and you know, you can't say for sure, but it seems like the level of individuals we're talking to on the phone have a higher understanding of the loan and finance process than they did before. I don't know what accounts for that, but I was noting that. And I just think it was great that the meeting was requested and scheduled in a very private area. It was not a publicity thing. You guys were taken in a quiet room with nobody even knowing, and the doors locked. It was truly an interest of her being new to the administration, wanting to know and improve. And I think it's just wonderful that out of just random choices, you got picked to be included.
Yeah. I was very happy to be able to meet with her, to share my experience, which had been amazing with SBA, and also to be able to share the experiences that you had with others as well, so that more people could be helped. So that was really good. And then again, off the back of that, there were grants, and there still are grants that are available for people who are either in the affected areas or their business has been affected by the wildfires, and these are still ongoing. So if anybody out there is in that situation and hasn't applied for any grants, don't think, you know, there's nothing that you can do now. There are still things that you can access. So one of the payment processes I use is Square. I use that for my clinic.
Right.
So I got an email from Square saying, hey, we see that you're in the burn area. You qualify for a grant. And I was like, okay. And they literally were kind of like, fill this out. It was super fast form. Filled it out. $500 ended up in my account. And I was like,
now,
okay.
Sadie just put Hello Alice in for you, because Emma asked us to share that with everybody. Talk to, what is helloalice.com?
So Hello Alice is a website that it has a number of different elements to it. So it has business education. It has areas of funding, which can be loans, but can also be grants. Okay. And so whenever grant programs come up, they list them. So you can create an account, and it's free. You can just go onto helloalice.com, create your own account, and they will send you emails when, well, they'll send you emails anyway, but they'll send you emails when things sort of align with your business.
Okay.
And so you can go in there, you know, every week or every couple of weeks and just check, okay, what's available now, what's coming up. And I had seen a grant in there. I've applied for grants through there in the past. It was something that another business advisor advised me to do. And I thought, well, if I've got the time, I can, and never got anything. And then there was one that I applied for relatively recently, and I got an email to say, yes, we're awarding you a $10,000 grant.
Wow, that's a nice size, because usually you just get 1,000 or so. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this was through Hello Alice. It's through Kevin Hart's tequila company, the Grand Coramino Fund. And so my business, Emma Green Programs, was awarded a $10,000 grant. So I'm now using that to help me with paid ads. So a lot going back to what you were saying before, Laurie, I have a Facebook ads consultant who I'm working with. So that money has been able to pay for me to work specifically with her to set up a specific funnel that is going to basically, it's going to be meta ads. So it'll be through Facebook and Instagram. It's selling a low ticket item. So it's a $97 course. But the theory behind the funnel is that these small ticket items then pay for the ads. So you kind of get it going.
I
The small
gotcha.
ticket items, they pay for the ads. And then obviously that leads into a bigger course and leads into the back end, which is where you're nurturing these people, more interactions with them, and they come through your funnel.
You know what amazes me, Emma, for you not being, I mean, you're a very tech person, but your background's not tech. Your background's not marketing. You have done a phenomenal job on your self promotion with the selection of areas that you have chosen to invest in. And I know you've said a couple things, well, that one didn't work well, that one didn't work well, but I don't see you doing what a lot of other entrepreneurs do, where they just throw excessive amounts of money at something only to find out down the road it didn't work. You seem to do really well on choosing the right thing. And at least if you do determine it isn't working, pull out quickly. Where's the wisdom in that? How do you go through how do you find the different people? How do you find the resources? Just walk us through how Emma's mind works in that area, because I think you've done a great, successful job for yourself in that area.
Thank you. So certainly with the Facebook ads consultant that I'm working with right now, and I've been looking at this area for a while because I knew it was something that I needed to do in order to grow my business. A lot of people find me on Facebook, Instagram, and I knew if I could improve the way that they found me and improve the way I then nurture them and take them through the information that they wanted to get, I was going to have more success. And it's so hard because I'd spoken to a couple of other people who are Facebook ad consultants, and I kind of got the impression I was like, they don't know what they're talking about, or I know more than they do, and they didn't answer that question I asked very well. And
Yeah.
I'd been through quite a number of them, never having sort of made any purchases with them because it just didn't feel right. And the girl that I'm working with now, and again, funnily enough, she's in Australia, so they tend to be all over the place.
Yeah.
She so her Facebook ads, I must have clicked on one of her Facebook ads. So
Ah,
I'd entered her funnel. She'd taken me through. She did a challenge about Facebook ads. I did that. I really liked the way that she did that. It was a free challenge. And
okay.
then she was selling her course. And so it's a very familiar sort of funnel, because that's what it is. And I felt a good connection with her. She was very genuine. She absolutely knew her stuff. She was really knowledgeable. And I clicked on her Facebook ad and I bought her course. So, she could do this
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Well,
So
that's the other thing that you've done over the years. You'll take the courses. See, that's where I think the discernment comes in. You learn enough to know whether who you're hiring can do what you want because you're familiar with the terminology, you're familiar with the concept, you will know what to listen for. I think the blind faith in hiring somebody is never a good idea. You don't have to be an expert, but at least become educated on the subject enough to know if you're hiring somebody that will work for you in what you're trying to achieve, and be very conscious when it's not and pull the plug.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have a business mentor right now that I think I've probably followed. It's got to be at least 6 years. I've followed him and never bought a thing from him for the first probably 3 to 4 years. Just consume the content, was getting to know him. Who is
Interesting.
he? What does he know? And then he put an offer out, and I kind of had a figure in my head. I'm like, well, if it's less than that figure, I'm in. And it was. So it's just it's building relationships.
You know what? It also, our conversation makes me think about how many, myself included, I'm saying this about, maybe should reach out more on an international way than we are. Like you've got these international mentor groups and stuff. How did you get where you have such an international presence as well as an international um, engagement with individuals? I know it's you were international yourself, but how did it end up where you found these clubs and meetings and groups that had an international group? Oh, look at, we got an Aussie in LA with Sarah. Yeah. So how did you, I mean, most people find these mentor groups and they're all sitting in their backyard, ironically, but you're like all international. Did you seek
Mm.
that out?
I think initially when I started looking into it, obviously being from the UK and then living in the US, there's a big connection for me for home, for the UK. And when I'm in the UK, I call here home. So I have home and home. So so there's definitely that. And when I was looking for, again, I must have clicked on an ad for the Female
Okay.
Entrepreneur Association going back, and to find out that so Carrie Green, no relation, but she's based in the UK. And again, I watched all her videos, free content, watched her videos, listened to her podcast, bought her book. I was like, okay, she knows what she's talking about. I like her. I'll join her membership.
Ah,
And her membership is global. So there's women all over the world. And I went to one of their Zoom networking parties that they had. And
okay.
I think there were 5 of us in a Zoom room because they split everybody up so we could chat and get to know each other. Every single one of us was in a different country, but we'd all moved from our original country to be somewhere else.
Ah,
And that just blew my mind. And I thought, isn't that so interesting that entrepreneurs tend to take these risks?
yeah.
Because others would go, I'm not moving to a different country. How would you do that? That's really risky. What if you lose everything? And I think that's very ingrained in us. It's part of our traits,
The
is that
adventure. Yep, I
that's
know.
it.
It's the adventure. And as I was listening to everything you're speaking, I think, one of the things about your secret wisdom formula is you invest the time to become educated on the subject matter before you're purchasing. I mean, you could see, I bought the book, I took the video, so many people are like, I'm too busy, I'm not going to handle that, and they want to just pass it on and somebody else take the control. But I believe when someone else takes the control, they also take the power away from you. And then you don't have the discernment. And that's when things go right. So I think when people say work on their business, they're really talking about spend the evenings, maybe, okay, I'm going to say this, turn off the TV and turn on some educational, read an educational book on a topic where you're just trying to glean enough to have discernment on who to hire and how to hire them best.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it comes down to making an informed decision.
Yeah.
And you
Yes, yes,
can't make an
informed
informed
decision.
decision that's
No,
it, unless
yeah.
you're informed.
Yes, you can. I mean, I always, everything I do, even if it's something like I've been dealing with mechanical and electrical things and stuff, I have to have studied the product and the electrical. So when the electric guy's there, I'm like, okay, so which wire are you Okay, yeah. Because it's like part of me just doesn't trust anybody as myself, a little bit of control freak there. So I know enough to make sure that they're following the processes so I can calm down and trust. I think that's why I'm that way. And I always am a big proponent of getting 2 or 3 information from 2 or 3 different people because then I can contrast. Like if I don't know something and I get 3 different opinions, I can say, tell me more about your opinion. Tell me. And then that process forces you to learn as well. I really do think entrepreneurs have to get smarter about all aspects of their company to succeed. And you've
Mhm.
done a great job on doing that.
Thank you. I mean, I love learning, always have. I'm a lifelong learner. And I think as a physical therapist, I love the research. So I love understanding why things work, how we can change things. And I think that just flows over then into entrepreneurship too.
Well, what's amazing too, Emma, is you've become so much more well-rounded. You were before. I'm not saying that you weren't, but to the highest degree, you're fascinating, interesting in so many different avenues, so many connections, so well-rounded. And here's the best part, and I'm going to pass it for you, but this is the drum roll. and you're having a friggin' blast.
Mm, 100%. I love my life. It's just like every day is so fun.
I
I
know.
never get up and go, oh, it's Monday. I'm like, oh,
No.
it's Monday.
You're like, what am I going to do now? And I think that's the key. I don't care what you're doing when you're alive and fully engaged. Every single thing will work its way out. I just have gotten to this age where I've seen it so many times in my life and others. I know that to be so true. So, Emma, of course, a whole hour's gone by. It's amazing. I love having you on the show. Thank you for coming on. I know you're so inspirational and educational for everybody. Last final words you'd like to leave with our audience.
Yeah, I would encourage everybody who's listening to this, get onto helloalice.com, create your free profile, go in there every week or every couple of weeks, just look and see what grant opportunities are there that fit with your business and apply for them. You know,
That's awesome.
just get used to applying for them, get into the habit of doing it, and then they'll start coming through. You know, there's money out there. People want to give you money.
And I was not aware of Hello Alice, so I'll be adding that to my information. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to be bugging you again because if I bring you on in 6 months, you're going to have a whole new set of information. Absolutely. So I always make you tell the story because I say one day, Emma, you know what I just think? I just saw a vision of you telling the story on TED Talks.
I have considered it actually. I think it is on the list of things to do, but just
I
not
think
quite at
I
the
just
top
saw
yet.
it. I just saw it. Emma telling her story on TED Talks. So with that, Sadie, isn't it always great to have Emma on?
I mean, for me, it's the energy. Like I think this is why we love small biz talk is because the energy, I mean, we
Yeah.
learn so much. And when we talk about what we love, the passion is there.
It totally is. It totally is. So, as always, Sadie will stay around. If you've got any questions, I saw a couple questions out there that were more technical than what we're talking about. Sadie gives my email. You can set up a one-on-one with me through the SBDC. I can answer those kind of finance questions that were asked during the show. So, I am going to say Sadie will stay. She'll put the information in the chat. Reach out to Emma. Take a look at her books. Follow her wisdom. Great, great wisdom. So with that, Emma, thank you again. And I am going to say hello to our frequent flyers, which I didn't yet, that are there every single week, which Emma's always been one of them. So glad to have you there. And if you were new to the show, please tune in next week to Small Biz Talk with your host, Lori Williams. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Alrighty, guys. So I will be here. I will be hanging out. I put a lot of links in the chat. Yes, I know. So don't worry. I'm gonna let this run. I'm just gonna put myself on mute. So go ahead, scroll. I'll probably be here for another 10 minutes. Go ahead, sign up, do a do. Let me know if you need anything, okay? I'll be here.